CS20, good morning, good morning, good morning, good morning. I don't care if it's not morning where you're watching this. It's morning where I am. Okay. Lesson 15, dictionary arrays. Okay, these are dictionaries in Python. Sometimes you call them arrays. I won't call them arrays again at all because next year when you're doing Java, this is not an array. So I'm going to move you through this as quick as we can and try and get some good content for you. Okay, so to start with, when we instantiate a dictionary in Python, this is what it looks like right here. So I have a dictionary called masters, and I've entered it in using a curly brace, and it's a string, so I'm using quotations. So I separate Yoda with a colon, Dooku, then a comma, then Qui-Gon, colon, and Obi-Wan. So a little bit of Star Wars information for you here. Yoda was Dooku's master. So Yoda's the master, Dooku was the Padawan. Qui-Gon's the master, Obi-Wan was the Padawan. Okay, that's important to know. Just for life, because Star Wars is important. Okay, now some things you want to notice about this. We've learned throughout all these lessons, when we're using strings, we put quotation marks to indicate that they're strings. When we use lists, we're using braces. This is a typo. That should be a regular square brace. Okay, and when we use dictionaries, we use curly braces. And I know I've talked about this before. This might not be the correct terminology, but this is the terminology that the people who showed me how to code use. These are curly braces. This is just a brace. Okay, these are just brackets. Okay, so going forward, if I say curly braces, you know what I'm talking about. If I say braces, you know what I'm talking about. If I say brackets, you know what I'm talking about. All right, I know we've already covered that, but okay, that's how we format. That's the syntax for bringing in a dictionary in Python. All right, so information in dictionaries are stored in something called a key value pair. So you have a key and then you have a value, and that's how all of them are entered. There's always two, a key and a value. All right, so you can see up here I have two of them in each. I have a key and I have a value. That happens for every single entry. Right now I have two entries. You can see I have one entry here separated by a colon, another entry here separated by a colon, and each entry is separated by a comma. Okay, and if we say print masters, that's going to print it out just like it prints out our list. It includes the braces, it includes the quotation marks, includes the colons and the commas. So it's not that clean. So if I print this one out for you, you see I get it right there. It's not very clean, but it prints everything that's in the dictionary. Now, something that's important to note, this does print out this way, but it doesn't. The lists always print out in the order that they were entered. From what I've been told, dictionaries don't always print out in that order. I've never seen them print out in any other order when you just use the print function, but apparently that doesn't always happen. So be ready for that. Okay, manipulating the list. The first thing that you probably already remember that you can do is if we use the len function and print len masters, it's going to give us the total length. How many entries do we have? Now we don't have 4 entries, we have 2 entries. Okay, the 2 entries are based on the key value pairs. So we have 2 sets of key value pairs in this dictionary. All right, and if we just wanted to pull out one value, so the Padawan, remember, if we wanted to pull out just one value of Qui-Gon, we could use this code. Okay, so we can say Padawan equals master Qui-Gon print Padawan. So what we've done is we've created a variable, it's empty, and we say into it we want to put a value into that variable called Padawan, and we want it to be the value from the master's dictionary of the key Qui-Gon. Okay, so let's look at this in our actual code. Okay, so we remember that key, value, key, value. So what we're saying with our line of code is we have a new variable called Padawan, and we want the value of that Padawan to come from the dictionary masters. So when I highlight masters, it highlights all the other instances of that dictionary that we've used throughout our code. And you can see the value of this variable comes from something in the master's dictionary. Okay, and then we tell it using braces, we want to pull out the key of the value Qui-Gon, and you can see it highlights Qui-Gon too. So we know that the key for the value Qui-Gon is Obi-Wan. So when we print Padawan, this variable, it should print us Obi-Wan, which it does. Okay, so that's how we can just print out one key or value. Now, this seems stupid, but if you have 400 key value pairs entered in a dictionary and you can't quite remember what's the value of this key, then that's how you would print it out. Okay. All right, appending the dictionary, just like we appended a list. If you, after you've run a little bit of code, realize, hey, I want to put in one more key value pair, you do that. Now the difference between a list and this one is now you're going to add this a little bit differently. So before, when we instantiated the dictionary, we used curly braces. When we want to append the dictionary, we use braces. So we insert into the master's dictionary a new key using a brace, and the key is Anakin, and then we say equals, and the equals is going to be the value of that key. So Anakin goes in as the key, Ahsoka goes in as the value. Okay, so I've got my append here. So it says Master's Anakin, and key values pair is Ahsoka, and I'm going to print the Masters again. So you can see when it prints up here, there's only 2 entries. After the append, we print it out, and there's now 3 entries. Very similar to lists. Okay, now loops in dictionaries. Okay, we can use a loop to reference all of the entries in our dictionary, and it's very similar to the way we printed out the list. Okay, for master in masters, Padawan equals master, brace, master. And then we're going to print it. Now, line 13 tells the computer to keep checking each key in the dictionary. The key is now labeled as master. Okay, and I know that's a little bit confusing, but that's the way it works. Okay, so I've now labeled the key master. So when I print that out, it's going to work as, I'm going to be able to use the dot format to put these things into the order that I want them to be in. All right, so let's look at line 14 is the same thing we did in line 7. He's telling the computer the value. Yes, so this is when we pulled out just Obi-Wan before. Now we're doing the same thing. We're creating a variable called Padawan, and we're saying that the masters for the Padawan are the value of this variable each time the loop iterates. So the first time it comes through, it knows to grab the first value from the first key, and then the second time it iterates, it grabs the value from the second key, and then the third time it iterates, it grabs the value from the third key. Okay, so we have this code here. All right, so for masters and masters, the master value is empty once it comes to the line the first time. Once it comes to line 13 for the first time, it's going to go into the master's dictionary. It's going to grab the key from each one of those, and it's going to put the value in each time. Now this, you should remember, the print statement you should remember from lesson, the second or third lesson. Okay, we're using the dot format with empty curly braces, and they just get put in respectively. So the first thing after the dot format will go into here, the second will go into here. So master goes into this first one, Padawan goes into the second one, and we have our, it's not a prompt, but it's explaining to the user what it's looking at. Rather than just print them out, this actually explains. Okay, so it says the Padawan of Yoda is Dooku, the Padawan of Qui-Gon is Obi-Wan, and the Padawan of Anakin is Ahsoka. Okay, that's dictionaries. Okay, relatively simple. As always, let me know if you have any questions. If it's not making sense, I can work with you directly or one-on-one, and we can figure out what your confusion is. Alrighty, see you later.